We have talked about the ingredients going into this Harley Cafe Racer. Now I'm going to talk about the recipe. How did those ingredients blend together, um, and what modifications were done to the frame? Today we'll disassemble the whole bike. Actually, not the whole motorcycle, just the stuff that needs to be painted and stuff that needs to be removed in order to access the frame where I did paint it. Um, Before I disassemble, though, I'm going to talk about the rear loop and how it fits on there, how it's bolted on there. This is not tight yet. This is not going to be the shock I'm going to end up with. I will have new shocks, but they don't get installed until it's painted. But anyway, the frame came right down here, and you'll see this is a rusty spot. And it's rusty because the original frame had these ugly, heavy steel sticks that just went up to the frame, and they were part of that forging. That forging starts right there and it ends right over there. If you see it, I don't know if you see it, but anyway, this was part of the forging, and it was symmetrical on both sides. I cut them both down because, wow, they're so ugly. And they're supporting a heavy fender that was deep drawn, made of steel, and it was supporting an extra passenger on the back, which I don't have that problem. So I was able to lighten quite a bit. These are heavy, and it took two of them. Now, why the loop? Could you go without the loop? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, some of the cafe racers I've built before didn't have a loop at all. But that brings up another problem. You do have to install a license plate and a tail light somewhere, and if you don't have the loop, you would either have to install them on the seat, which is not a good idea because the seat is, especially the back part of the seat, is not very strong. They will vibrate, but it needs to hold the license plate and the tail light, which otherwise I was guilty of installing them on the side before, right here on the rear axle, and they never looked quite right. It looked unfinished, so I think the loop is the way to go. I mean, you do need a license plate, so that's all there is to it. So we'll take it off now and see how it's installed there, because I welded them in the past, but it's not necessary to weld them on there. And I didn't weld it because I have another spare over here that's not bent upwards. See, that one is bent upwards, which allows it to be a little bit shorter. It doesn't have to go all the way back there. It can be a little bit shorter and still clear the suspension. But actually, I'm going to set the camera down. It makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to set the camera down while I remove the parts, and then we'll take them off individually and talk about the mounting tabs and so forth. How was it all mounted together? It's they're mostly finger tight. Most of the hardware is already being removed, so it should be a piece of cake to strip the bike down to almost nothing. It won't be very pretty. She doesn't look good naked, but you see these tabs over here. They prevent the part from spinning, so it keeps it stationary. Basically, welded. This is angle iron welded on top of that the tab over there on top of this, and it takes advantage of a feature that's existing in the frame. And now you can see how the license plate is installed also. It's, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, it's that little tiny aluminum strip in there going all the way down underneath it, and then a plastic sheet is sandwiched it all together. It's that strip of aluminum, it's strapped, it's sandwiched in between the aluminum piece and the actual license plate. This is just a generic tail light, and I also made the bracket that holds it part of the it's actually the nut holding this bolt down, if you can see it. Anyway, that's that. The seat, you'll notice the seat is trapped in there. It doesn't go anywhere, and that's because the mounting brackets are trapping each other in there. It is impossible for it to escape, and the seat has no bolts in there right now whatsoever. It comes off that easily. That's how easy it installs. With one screw goes on this side, and then another one on this side. It does not mount onto the loop. So that's that. I'm going to show you how I made the seat for the frame. Is basically a T, if you will. And you notice the seat has some adjustable positions, and I retained 3 of those. That one is the middle one, and this is the furthest because the bracket will not fit in between the seat to reach this position, which will be too far backwards anyway. I don't know any riders that is that tall, and it's fairly simple. The tubing itself, you notice that I crushed the center of it in order to give it a little bit of taper. You notice a little bit of taper down there, and the reason for that, and then I welded it shut. And the reason for that is to find the female quicker and pilot it in there. And even the female, why don't I show you? Even the female on the frame, which is that right there, I cut the tubing, the square tubing right there, and I ramped it up in order to allow me some angle to approach it at an angle and then drop it down onto these tabs that I welded onto the frame. And then those tabs, that and this, fit together in that bucket. You see that U-shaped pocket, and same thing on the other one. And that traps it in there. It will not allow it to escape. So the male fits into the female, and if you work in a shop, you're not going to misgender male and female. There's no confusion there. So it fits in there like so, and then just simply drops onto the mounting tabs. That's it. It's that simple. And well, it does look pretty cool without the rear fender and tail light hanging out there, but it is missing the other shock just for symmetrical purposes, but it looks pretty angry. Anyway, let's remove the fuel tank rather. And the fuel tank, believe it or not, it mounts with, why don't I show you? It simply mounts in the rear with this plastic strap around what used to be the original seat catcher. That was the seat catcher, but I welded that tubing on there, the receptacle for the seat, and now you can see that ramp a little bit better. The pilot was too tight against the seat. It didn't allow me to tilt it upwards. Anyway, that rubber band, I couldn't believe that actually it's supposed to hold the rear, the back of the tank, but it actually does. It's stronger than it looks. I mean, I'm trying to shift the tank and the whole bike is moving with it. So, and taking that off, this band is also trapped. Once the seat gets mounted, the band gets trapped. You don't lose it by any means. And then the seat is resting onto You'll see better once I remove it, which will be next second. But this is a Norton fuel tank, and I don't know if you noticed, but it almost looks like it was made for a Harley. Somebody had to have had a Harley engine there handy, because the tolerances are just so nice and tight. It fits the Harley frame perfectly. I mean, it's about a 1/4 inch, 3/8 difference all the way around. These are the front mounting brackets for the fuel tank. Why didn't I remove this while I'm here? It'll make it easier to pull the tank off. And this clear hose right here will be my fuel level window. I'll be able to see where the fuel is, because that tube was going to an outlet for a petcock. That is the only thing that did not agree with the Harley engine. It is simply too close to the carburetor. Right now it's about a 1/4 inch, which should suffice for vibration and so forth. But this is the other one. I'll show you where to mount that tabs, the mounting tabs. You see this is its steering at full lock, and it clears the gas tank just barely. You see the clip-on holding. Actually, that's not part of the clip-on. That's part of what holds my headlights on the frame. Oh boy, I'm making a mess of this video. Anyway, it's very tight there. And on the bottom, the triple tree comes, I don't know, baby, 3/4 of an inch. No, I mean 1/4 of an inch maybe. It's very tight, but that's what takes so long to build a motorcycle. I mean, you have to keep an eye out for all of the problem areas. And let me set the camera back down, pull the tank off, and come back to it. I don't want to drop the tank. It's too expensive. So it matches the Harley frame and engine almost to perfection. A Norton gas tank will mount onto your Harley frame. These are just rubber mounts, isolation, vibration. You can see them moving and having a little bit of give. Now let's see the frame. So these tabs were welded right onto the frame. I was originally going to use that bolt. That's the original Harley gas tank bolt mounting, but I had to make my own, and that's what they look like. Very Norton, like Norton had a similar mounting idea. Similar mounting idea for their gas tanks, but their brackets looked slightly different. But yeah, they should support 3.5 gallons of fuel, I guess. And in the back, you have the rubber mount over there. And in the middle, this is a Harley FXR or Super Glide, I think, from the 70s. I had to grind it down a little bit to fit the tunnel of the fuel tank. But that's basically what it is. It's just sitting there on the frame, and then the tank sits right on top of it. And with that, I can move on to the exhaust, remove the exhaust, show you how that is sitting on there. But whoa, it looks like a wet cat. It looks so, doesn't look as pretty when she's naked. But anyway, let's take the exhaust off. just like that, it is off. The rear bracket is aluminum. It basically connects both mufflers. Underneath it, this is a special bolt I made, just an extra heavy duty fender washer, if you will. Just so the aluminum does not flex one way or the other. It keeps it in there. And now let's take a look at the bracket, holding it on to the frame. And nothing fancy, just a V bracket, sorta kinda, and it's welded onto the frame just ahead of the shock. I was originally going to mount it onto the shock, but I don't want to stress that member out too much. But yeah, it's just a tube with reinforced fender or fender washer on it, a very thick washer, so it doesn't allow the aluminum to move anywhere. And material itself is 5/8 diameter outside diameter by 1/8 of an inch wall thickness, so they're fairly sturdy. I mean, you're not gonna flex it or bend it or anything. And with that, we have a place to start painting it. I still have to remove these back and paint those, and then I have to cut that sprocket cover. That I don't like that point over there. I don't even know why. Harley engineers are not artists. I'll tell you that much. I don't know why they did it that way, but anyway, with that, actually, you know what? I gotta move the front fender also, because those stays will have to be painted, and that bracket in the center holding it together will need to come out too, and have that painted while it's a nice day out. But that's about it. Well, I'll see you in about 2 or 3 weeks maybe, after I'm done painting all the parts and brackets and frame and clean up, and then we'll talk more after that. But before I go, it's another crazy thing I want to do that I've done for the past 2 or 3 bikes. The Harley engine, let me get this out of the way. The Harley engine seems to be very square looking. I mean, it's not nice and round cylinders. They're too square looking. So I'm going to take a grinder, I think, and round off all these ribs on both sides to give the engine a rounder appearance. And then I'll start on electrics. And then final reassembly, and I probably won't see you again, or you won't see me rather, because I don't see you anyway, but yeah, you won't see me until we have something to show. I guess either a finished motorcycle or something interesting that happens on the way. But I'm not going to show you electrics. I'm not going to show you how to make anything, because if you don't already know how to do that, you probably shouldn't even be watching these videos. I don't know, but anyway, I hope you learned something today. I hope I was a good inspiration, and we'll talk soon after I get another cool little bike in my garage. Until then, I'll see you later. Bye bye.